So last week I probably threw some of y'all for a loop with the Louisiana purple pod pole beans. Well, this week I got another one for you. How about green eggplant? Not just one variety, but two. Curious? Well, stay tuned and find out. Welcome back to another episode of Growing Some Louisiana History with me, David Hubbell. Once again, thank you to everybody who has already subscribed to the David J. Hubbell YouTube channel. The numbers are up. Looks like I've been gaining a few subscribers every day. So I appreciate all those who've already done that by clicking that subscribe button and clicking that bell to be alerted to all upcoming videos. So this week I'm talking about one of my favorite vegetables to grow, the green eggplant. Now, there's been a tradition in South Louisiana for a number of years for basically two varieties of green eggplant. There's one called the Louisiana Long Eggplant, which I've grown before, as well as what I used to call the green globe, Louisiana green globe, or oval shaped eggplant, kind of similar to what you see like your black beauties. However, within the last year, I learned that it was actually attributed to a specific grower. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that one in detail. But right now it's called the Montelero eggplant. So what I've been able to gather is that the Louisiana Long Green Eggplants have been gaining popularity, or first were introduced at least in popular newspaper media by about 1974. An article came out describing it as the Louisiana Banana Eggplant, or a Louisiana Long Eggplant. You'll see these around in some of the heirloom seed companies, and I've bought a few of these from time to time. And the first few times I grew them, they grew very tiny, kind of very long, like fingerling type of eggplants. I didn't really care for those because they were mostly seed and not a lot of eggplant. But about 4 or 5 years ago, I got some that were what I remembered my grandfather growing once or twice, and they were these Louisiana Longs. They're about 7 to 9 inches long. I don't know, maybe a diameter of about 2 inches, 2.5 inches. They're a little bit bigger than the Ichabod that you might see, but they are very thin skin, very smooth, and they're really like a 80 to 100 day eggplant. I grew those. They're very mild in flavor compared to what you're used to with your purple eggplants. They're not very bitter at all, but these have a little bit more seeds in them still than this other variety I'll tell you about in a minute. But anyway, these are good. Once again, eggplant love the heat, so a lot of times you can start these in May, well actually plant them in May, and it'll carry all the way through till basically the freezing conditions. Some people like to grow these eggplants both as a early spring crop and then maybe a late summer crop. So you can get a lot out of these eggplants under the right conditions. They really like a lot of sun, a lot of heat. Don't put too much nitrogen in your soil, because otherwise you'll get a lot of plant and very low yields. So that's a little bit on the green eggplant, the Louisiana Long Eggplant, which you'll see here and some of the ones I've grown from the past. Now the one that I'm really excited about is this other one that has been grown in my family for a number of years. In fact, we thought for a while we were the only ones who were still growing them. But come to find out, last year, thanks to a post by Mr. Jeff Aguillard on one of the Louisiana gardening Facebook pages, I found out that these eggplant had an actual specific history. And he called them the Montelero Eggplant. And once he posted that and the story behind it, I did a little more research myself and come to find out that this has been growing in South Louisiana probably since the 1890s, when their original immigrants arrived who carried these seeds with them. This green eggplant is attributed to the Montelero family, who arrived from Sicily to Louisiana in about 1894. In specific, Carlo Montelero. He came over, and it is known that he originally settled in Point Coupé, and then he ended up in Mamou, Louisiana, around 1927. From there, he had a truck farm. I'm sure he did a lot of other things, but he was listed as a truck farmer. And one of the vegetables he was very successful at growing were these green eggplant. And these are beautiful. They got the pale skin, much like the Louisiana Long, but they also have these dark green stripes that go down them as well. Mr. Montelero was married to a Frances Sigio Montelero, and they both had a large family, and they did this truck farming. And Mr. Montelero passed away in 1956, with his wife passing away in 1953. But the family continued to keep these seeds going. In particular, their son, Salvatore Sam Montelero, he would grow these and keep this going in the family. So according to one of his granddaughters who commented on the post, he was the chief sanitarian for the city of Lafayette, and he had a backyard nursery. He had a large family of 12, and so this obviously helped supplement his income. But also beyond that, it helped keep these seeds alive for us. I believe not just him, but other family members, some of his brothers perhaps, also continued to grow these. Now my family acquired these about 1960. From what I understood, my grandfather got them from his brother, Lawrence Robert, who had a farm over in Luling. Now there's a good distance between Mamou, Eunice, Lafayette, and Luling. It's about a 2.5 hour drive. So somewhere around the early 60s, one of Uncle Lawrence's children remembered that they started seeing him growing these green eggplants. My grandfather started growing them in Jefferson Parish and Metairie sometime around there. And today you can even find these seeds available in Jefferson Parish at the Jefferson Feed Store. There's a Langrid nurseries in Belchase also. So what we really like about these green eggplant is the fact that particular Montelero eggplants have very small seeds. They are thinner skinned than, say, your black beauties. And they're very mild and not as bitter as those as well. I like to make fried eggplant with these. Like I said, because they are not bitter, you don't really have to salt them ahead of time to remove any of the bitterness. They grow to about 4 foot tall. They're big plants. You probably need to stake them. And they will produce basically from the beginning of the summer all the way through till the end. There may be a little bit of a lull due to the heat of the summertime and lack of flowering. But for the most part, they'll put on. My dad used to grow these in Fairhope, and they were very prolific. And I mean, he'd have them all season long, as well as my grandfather. After my grandfather passed and Uncle Lawrence, or Uncle Chicken as he was known, passed away, we've had difficulty trying to keep these seeds going. My dad would try, and they have very low germination rates for us. And it turned out that initially my dad really wasn't doing a good job of processing and saving the seeds. So what you have to really do with these is that you have to let them stay on the vine until they start to yellow. And when they get big and mature, that's when the seeds inside really are best for saving. Once you do that, you let it basically rot all the way down. At least we did. I've seen somebody else who didn't, but they let it get yellow. They extracted the seeds in either case, kind of wash them down, dry them, and then you go ahead and you save them at that point. And that seemed to improve my father's yields after he started doing that. I've had mixed success, but I'm going to try that this year 2 different ways. I'm going to try to save 2 of them. One, let it go all the way till it rots, and then the other one, I'm going to let it just get yellow and then extract the seeds. Now the reason you don't really see these eggplants in the stores is because of the fact that even though they taste way better and they're beautiful green, they bruise easily. And when they bruise, they turn tan. And when you see that tan, the tan's not just on the surface, but it gets down to the flesh. So a lot of people don't really like that, and so as a result, you end up having they don't have a long shelf life when it comes to the grocery stores. I've seen them grown at Destrehan Plantation. I've seen them at actually a farmer's market in South Alabama, in Robertsdale. And so they will have some people who have grown them and are interested in growing them, but these are really more of a home garden variety because basically from farm to table, you need to use them pretty quickly. They don't last extremely long. They don't have a long shelf life, but you want to go ahead and use them as soon as possible while they're at their freshest. Get you about 1 or 2 of them. You can deep fry them. You can make eggplant with shrimp casserole. One of my favorites, which you'll see a picture of here, is the eggplant bell rose, the Chef John Folse recipe. And if you want to learn more about that, send me a message. Anyway, let's go look at the ones in my garden. So this is one of 2 of the Montelero eggplant I'm growing. You can see here, we got some little buds coming out, and it's got some nice purple flowers on it. These really probably would be best in the ground, but due to my lack of space and lack of sunlight, I'm choosing to do these in pots, big pots, and they seem to do pretty well. My mom had them in big pots over in Fairhope, and she produced a lot better than I did, so I'm trying to keep these out in the sun a little bit more. And here's the second one I've got as well. As you can see, I like to stake these to be ready. Now, in addition to the Monteleros, I've got this other one here. It looks to be very similar. As you can see, they started these about the same time. But look at the tremendous difference in the leaf size of this one versus this one. So far, it also has a much thicker stem. It also has the purple leaves, purple flowers that you normally see, as indicated here. I'm sure I'll give a shout out to Gilbert Kraemer for getting me these seeds. Like I said, they don't appear to be the Louisiana Longs, but somehow a cross between the Louisiana Longs and the Montelero Eggplant. So I'm pretty excited to see what these are going to give me. So this is the other one that I've got here. You can see that it's long and it's got the green, dark green, but it also looks like it's got a little bit of purple in it. So once again, I'm not sure if this is a cross between the Long Green and the Montelero. Let's see how these come out. But I'm pretty excited to see how these turn out. I think this one so far is right around maybe 3.5 foot tall. So anyway, folks, there you go. You can see how beautiful these leaves are and the difference between the two I've got. The one, like I said, looks to be like a Montelero, but it seems to be a little bit longer and thinner. I don't know if it's a cross between the Montelero and maybe the Long Green ones. This is the first year I've been growing these. One of the gentlemen who gave them to me on Facebook, he did a wonderful job with them, and they look very much like the Montelero, except they're a little longer. So I'll let you know how those turn out when I try my first one. The Monteleros hopefully will continue on. At least I know where I can get seeds from now. And hopefully I'll keep at least the ones that we got from our family going. If not, at least be able to reach out to some other individuals. So if this information has been helpful to you, please consider giving this video a like and share it with your eggplant loving friends, purple or green. Once again, if you haven't subscribed to the David J. Hubbell YouTube channel, please do so. Once again, hit the subscription button and click that bell to be alerted to all upcoming eggplant or gardening history and food history videos I'll be coming out with. Oh, don't forget, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I appreciate it, and I will see you next week.